Chess is a game that has been around for centuries, with different strategies and openings being used throughout history. One such opening is the Caro Khan. The Caro Khan is a chess opening that is named after German chess player Hirato Caro. Caro, along with other chess players Marcus Khan, used this opening in their games in the late 19th century. The Caro-Kann has become popular over time because of its defensive opening that gives the player time to prepare a counterattack. In this opening, black defends the center of the board with the knight and the pawn and awaits for white's attack. Okay guys, I want to take you through 4 opening traps that you could encounter someone or you use when you're playing black and you respond to e4 using the Caro-Kann. So remember, the Caro-Kann is activated when the opponent plays e4 and you respond with e6. Obviously, this opening means that, like I said in the introduction, you are going for the center. You want to fight the center using your pawn structure, putting it on the light squares, and really not giving white the chance to break through and create a strong center and have an advantage as they're developing their pieces. This is how you want to defend the center and also defend against white's position. Let's go into the first trap. So the first trap is called the Bohemian. Okay. The Bohemian attack is activated when e4, knight c6, c6, and then knight e2. When white plays knight to e2, he's obviously now trying to not play the main line of the Caro-Kann, as maybe he has seen that, okay, you are going for the Caro-Kann by playing c6, saying, okay, I'm not going into the main line. Maybe you're prepared, maybe you know more opening theory about it. So he's going to play knight e2. But don't fear, just continue. Play d5, striking that center and waiting now for white's response. Okay, let's say white does not want to take that pawn on d5, not want you to have a pawn that is attacking both c5, c4, and he then advances his pawn. When white has now advanced their pawn, this is how they are activating their Bohemian attack. This is so crucial for you to understand and know, because this attack can really get you into some trouble and ruin your structure in terms of you developing your pieces. Maybe it will suffocate you, put all your pieces right there at the bank rank, and then not being able to activate and join into the game. Okay, you play knight f5. Okay, and white decides to play knight d4, attacking that bishop and obviously wanting the bishop to be kicked away. You respond, you play bishop d6, and then white's gonna play e6. Now, as you can see now, white is advancing. He's coming for the attack in a very aggressive manner. He wants to ruin your pawn structure on your king side because your queen side pawn structure is already open. Okay, do not play c5. When you play c5, trying to push back that knight on d4, white is just going to continue with his plan and play bishop b5, check. Now, you're about to lose either a queen or you're going to lose a knight. As you can see, the squares that are guarded there, c6 is guarded, uh, d8, d7 is guarded. Your king cannot move anyway, so you have to defend it with either the knight or the queen, right? White, whichever square or whichever piece that you choose to defend with, white is either going to win some material or he's going to end the game. Let's say you decide to play knight c6. Okay, when you play knight c6, yeah, because this knight is already under attack, white will have no choice but will have to exchange the knights. Right. When white exchanges the knight, the clear response for you is to play pawn takes knight. When you play pawn takes knight, white will continue adding pressure to your king and bishop c6 check. Obviously trying to win a rook in the next move. Okay, you don't have a choice here. You're going to play queen d7. White will then take with the pawn and give you a check. The black king then has to move one square. Now the black king cannot castle anymore. And then white is also going to win a rook there in the corner. Now, this is the first Bohemian attack that you must never fall for, especially at tournament level. If you are playing over the board or you're playing online, this is an attack either you can use against your opponent, or make sure that you study it and know it so that your opponent does not use it against you. Remember, the most crucial move in this was so black playing c5 is a big blunder. This was white's intention in the first place, for you to be lured out and try and go and attack the center and fight for that d4 square. Make sure that you study and know this attack. Okay, we're going to go into the second trap now. Okay, guys, this is the second trap. It's also called the Bohemian attack. It's pretty standard, it starts the same way the first trap was started at night, going for that light square bishop and wanting the. Obviously, you do not have any other choice. But make sure that the bishop is still active in the game and fighting for that center, and not repeating it back, where it could possibly be closed out by your pawn on e6, and then the bishop is basically useless to you. You again will experience white's aggression. White wants to pin you back, wants to apply pressure onto your pieces because most of your pieces have not activated. Okay, so being the chess player that you are, maybe you're like me, you play c5. Remember, c5 also in the first trap is a blunder. It is also a blunder here. This c5 move, is very important for you to understand, because there's many ways, even if you do able or are able to get out of it, but there's many ways for white to continue his attack in this position, really ruin your day. White then obviously goes for king check, knight c6, knight captures knight. Then now we have the move queen to b6. Queen to b6 is attacking two pieces at the same time. On the surface, it looks like you've found a good move, you know. But it's really important here what white plays next. What white plays next really plays a crucial role in you being able to survive in this position and seeing um, a way forward. Black. This is a super move. Knight to c3. Knight to c3 not only activates one of white's pieces, but it also defends the bishop from the queen's attack. Remember now, there's these squares are protected by the knight, so you cannot really castle your king to safety. Most of your pieces here are still pinned at the back. You know that bishop can move. That knight, even if you do activate it, this knight is ready to expose a check for you, which is a piece that you cannot recapture with your queen. So, natural thing to do is to get rid of that piece and take with your pawn on b7. Now, knight to d5. You know, if your opponent plays this on you, is a very, very despicable person. You know, the idea is that when the queen takes the bishop, he's gonna give you a triple four and either win a queen or win a rook. It's so important for us to know these opening traps, you know, so that we can know which moves to play and which traps not to fall into. So you're gonna play queen to b7. Obviously, wanting to save yourself from being forked, and your pawn is still going after two pieces at the same time. You know, the pawn is still going after two pieces at the same time. So you have applied pressure onto uh, white's position. Now, white there was trying to give you a free bishop, but do not take that bishop because remember the knight on d5 is still threatening to fork you, you know. So you're just gonna retreat back, and then your pawn is still attacking the knight on d5. So the knight has to move now within the next move. But also remember that there is a pawn on e6 that is also threatening to ruin the pawn structure on the king side. Knight e3, and then f takes e6. Now, your pawn structure is all over the place. You know, most of your black pieces have not been activated. And white here has a pretty good advantage. White can castle, white can push his d pawn and fight for the center. He can fianchet his black square bishop and really go for the center and activate his pieces. And then you are really in a losing position because you have a lot of ground to cover and your uncastled king there is big. Okay, this is one of the second traps that you need to be aware of when playing the Caro-Kann, understanding them so that you can play them and also defending against them is so crucial so that you can be able to win more games with the Caro-Kann in your arsenal. Okay, let's head over into the last opening trap. Okay, the last opening trap is called the two knights attack. So it's pretty standard. It starts with the same moves as the previous one. Just that the knight now goes on f3. Obviously, opening the knight, bringing it out to the center of the board so that it can control more squares. As you can see, if I activate that knight, you see the number of squares that the knight controls. Two squares in the center. This is what white wants. Remember, when you're playing the Caro-Kann, both you and white are fighting for the center, and whoever fights the center develop his pieces. Basic openings of chess is normally winning the game. Okay, the game continues. White now brings out both of his knights, controlling more squares in the center, developing pieces, and really, giving a longer approach into the game and seeing. I think at this point, at level, he or she would want to see um, how much of this opening do you really know. D captures E, and then the knight recaptures on the center. Now, the crucial move, bishop to f5. Bishop to f5 could be a blunder, and it could be a great move. This now will have a significance to what white will decide to play next. You know, the bishop on f5, remember, in the last two taps, was uh, kind of useless because it couldn't engage on the queen side anymore because it was always kicked away to that square on g6 and really moved away so that white could do his thing on your queen side and try and cause trouble there. Now, white comes again. He wants to push that bishop away. What is so crucial here is if you decide maybe before you take out that bishop, you play e6, trying to strengthen the center. That bishop is always being trapped behind that pawn on e6. It cannot engage, and it cannot allow you maybe in the future to either castle on the queen side. And it's gonna block your knight from being activated because activating a knight onto the A rank, white can just capture that knight and then ruin your pawn structure, and then it was all for nothing. So that bishop now in this opening is always tried to kick out of the game, and then it is moved to g6. White then plays h4. White now is threatening to trap that bishop. That bishop is a real headache in the Caro-Kann opening because it is almost like you're playing a French defense where the bishop is basically useless within the opening moves. It can only be activated if you fear in chat, then laser beam it on to this square on b7 and really try and bring some pressure onto the center and attacking um, white's position on the king side. Okay, we continue. h6, obvious move, giving the bishop a square to hide on. Knight e5, threatening to recapture that bishop. Then bishop on h7. This right here is an inaccuracy. This is not the correct way to respond to that knight advancing into the center and trying to exchange. Mind you, this position has been played 100,000 times, and this really leads to a very nice combination for white because black in this position should not be greedy about that light square. You know, by playing the Caro-Kann, you are sacrificing it being involved in the game. So I think you should let it be exchanged, but you know, try and make sure that the exchange not lead to you messing up your pawn structure on the king side. But do not be greedy and wanting to save that light square bishop. Now, we all know the fool's mate. White now is trying to really end the game because that knight now is guarding that square also on d7 and is also threatening mate you on um, f7. Obviously, you would want to block that mate and play g6. Now, what is White saying? White is saying, okay, let me test your greed. Let me see if my opponent is greedy and he thinks that is a free queen, you know, sacrificing the queen for wanting to win the game. Remember, if black decides to take that white queen, the bishop will capture on f7 and it's game over because square on d7 is protected by that knight. So black has to think very quickly on how he or she is going to get out of this. Why a black decides to play e6. This is a very good defense because now black has defended against being mated and he's still threatening that queen on h5. The queen then has to retreat. Now, okay, black starts getting into development, you know, fianchetting that dark squared bishop, bringing it out. I'm sure he's trying to open the file here at the back rank so that black king can castle and really go to safety because there's so many pieces there. You know, even though the pawn structure is messed up, but the pieces there will be able to protect the black king. Now, the variations in this position, you know, they very, very, very crucial because they decide if black survives his Caro-Kann opening or I don't know, it's over. Two knights attack. It really has so much theory because as you can see, now you're already into move 10. You know, you survived this far. Knowing what to do next is very crucial so that maybe you can and maybe you do have a chance in actually winning the game. Hmm. Kuruma. Okay. Knight to f7. Pinning the queen, going for that rook. Now, this is a brilliant move because of what happens next. If the black king decides, no, I'm not going to let you have my rook or my queen, and captures on f7, the queen can then come in and give a check. Then, as you can see, after that, the queen would have won with a fool's mate on the very next move. Greed and your emotional intelligence plays a huge role when you are playing because you are defending against white's responses. Respond in a way that will help you develop your pieces and do not try and be greedy by trying to protect that light square bishop. If it is time, give it away and exchange it on the board. Please exchange that light square bishop, develop your pieces, and do not fall into these opening traps. Okay, guys, that's it for these three opening traps for the Caro-Kann. I urge you to like and subscribe and stay tuned for some more openings and some more knowledge from the MD. I'll see you in the next video.